Hello, and welcome to the 35th and final episode of Dick Moby. For the next hour, I shall continue to unread the great American novel of 1851, Herman Melville's Moby Dick, the worst book that has ever been committed to paper. I first read Moby Dick. I say first, I've only read it once. I would never reread it, obviously. I would read it backwards, but not forwards. I read it for the first time 20 years ago, and it's been burning my mind ever since that I should try to evacuate it by unreading it and thereby cleanse my soul of this work of utter dogshit hogwash. I don't care if you like it. I'm entitled to dislike it, and I do dislike it. It's awful. So I'm unreading it. For the previous 34 hours of my life, I've unread however many chapters this is. 50, 100 and something. How many chapters are there? We're up to chapter 51 and a bit of 135 chapters plus an epilogue. But obviously going backwards, so we're doing pretty well. By chapter count, we're over halfway through. By sperm count, less so. And give me a second, I'll just get it from over here. The sperm count for today, as last week, is empty. We found no sperms last week, but the sperm count on the big board is doing pretty well. Pretty healthy gobbet of sperm up there on the big board. By way of explanation, there are 271 individual mentions of sperm in Moby Dick, and I'm counting them as we go as a sort of progress bar. To record, this endeavour for posterity. We had a behemoth chapter a couple of episodes ago, which we came to the conclusion of, and now every chapter is really short, 50 odd chapters left, virtually nothing to it. I think we'll polish it off today. Might overrun to next week, so there might be a bit of cleanup at the end. And a bit of admin, Speaking of admin, click the things like, subscribe, follow, befriend. I'm not sure what all the options are, but you can click them. And also the link down there, which isn't a link, you have to type it in, but it's down there, is to the National Video Game Museum. So if you think this has any artistic or commercial value, don't give me any money. I don't want money for doing this. Kudos, yes. A mention on the front page of the BBC website, yes. As a hero of lockdown, doing this to keep people sane in these difficult times. I would like all those things, but I don't really need the money for this. Give the money to the National Video Game Museum. The address is down there. It is a worthy cause. This is not. This is a lost cause. So let's continue and polish off Dick Moby. This is as far as we got last time. Bow's hour to close. I was hoping we'd finish this chapter, but we didn't. So let's continue, get this chapter rattled off, and then I will moan a little bit about Star Trek, as I usually do. Before than dismal more sight to place gave but, away went life of vacuity desolate, this all then. Bullocks her overflew foam flakes the chips, silver of showers like, till madness her in waves dark the gourd, and blast the two bowed sharply, Pequod ivory tusked the wen. There are that seas troubled, long the upon fell and rose we and, us around howling began wind cape the, eastward the to turning wen last at but. Speaking of wind there, I have a fan on in the background of this room behind the microphone, so hopefully it's not being picked up too badly. I don't think it's any louder than the fans of my computer working overtime in this heat wave. Obviously it's not hot enough for me to remove my hat. It's not as hot as last week when I couldn't wear a hat, but hopefully the fan solution will help, and the glass of Adam's ale, which is unfortunately water. I'm sworn off the drink this week because I wasn't sworn off the drink last week. Take of that what you will. Where was I? Prow urn like hour before life of itself vacating seemed. Errand vengeful hour to repugnance in. Space all that, mild lonesomely, wearily so sees through. A long voyage we days and days, for as charm devilish are lurked there, thought some. Blandness blue it's all beneath, which in whether the of serenity contrasting, the from potency wondrous are derived. Awful so, but but vague so. Apprehensions temporary these. Hello, Al in the chat. Al is a staple of this show. It's not a show, but hello, Al. Nice to see you along. As ever, he's second only to myself. Al has tolerated more of this than anyone else, so he should be thanked and congratulated, or maybe sympathised with, I guess, is a more appropriate way to go. Seas savage most and remotest, the in last at us rend and us upon round turn might monster that order in. On and on us beckoning treacherously were it if as apparition flitting this at dread peculiar of sense to reigned there time afore. Dick Moby, here he is, Dick Moby, whale that and whale same self same one by cast was spout unnearable that. Longitudes and latitudes apart far, however, in awe. Times remote, however, at. Descried wherever and whenever that swore who seaman doesn't count. The of some wanting there were. Pequod, the invested things many in which seemed it as preternaturalness, the with accordance in and race there of superstition immemorial, the with nor. Now, I'm going to pause there for a second. Am I going to get the big Oxford? It's down there. It's miles away. I can't be bothered. I'm going to look this up later. Right, this word. Al, look at what that word means. I've come across it so many times in my reading career, and I've always skated over it and just assumed that I know what it means. And it seems to mean something different every time. I'd love to know what preternatural means. Go on, do some Googling and stick it in the chat, and I'll announce it to everybody. Everybody, I'll announce it back to you. on my audience of one. On us alluring ever for seemed jet solitary this. Van hour in further and further still advancing be to repetition distinct every at seeming somehow and. 3 or, days 2 or, day whole 1 for again disappearing. Oh, here we go. The facts are in. It's preternatural. Preternatural adjective. Existing outside of nature. Exceeding what is natural or regular. Extraordinary. Inexplicable by ordinary means, especially psychic. So does it mean the same thing as supernatural? Can we find out what supernatural means and see if the definition is practically identical? As in my Collins what was it now? I had a dictionary as a younger man before I got the big Oxford. It was a Collins concise dictionary in which Pluto was listed as being this. I mean, this was, you can tell how long ago this is because Pluto was still a planet at the time. But Pluto was listed as the second smallest planet, and Mercury was listed as the second smallest planet. So there was no smallest planet. They were tied for second. Supernatural, adjective of a manifestation or event attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding or the laws of nature. So it's basically the same word. So as far as I'm concerned, if you use preternatural, you're just showing off, right? You're just showing off that you know a longer word for the same thing as supernatural. Typical Herman there, showing off with his 19th century language. His 19th century stupid language that goes on forever. Where was I? Did I read... I don't know. Let's just go back a bit. I did the thing about the days because I thought I read that quite well. I do rate myself, you know, as I go through this. I read bits and then I go, oh, that went well. And then if I stumble over a bit, got to do better than that. Concentrate. I'll go from here. Day whole 1 for again disappearing. Be might case the as, starlight or moonlight clear the interjetted mysteriously. It at wonder to, but it heeded one no till. Night after night us served it so, and been never had it if as disappeared it more once. It overtake to sail making upon but. All by descried was it again. Announced again was it. Our silence same the at. Lo! After days some, when thing forgotten a groan almost had midnight spout this. See, that was good, wasn't it? That was quite a well. It flowed well that paragraph towards the end. I thought I got into my stride. Sometimes it's when it's all those small words and little bits of dialogue, and it feels very broken. It feels like it takes twice as long. What does take probably more than twice as long is me commenting my own abilities to do this rather than just doing it. So I'll crack on. Time second and not but. Once it saw he swore sailor every. Night that seen more no was jet silvery the yet. Shot glances eager the arrows like. Eye every from though and. Sped swiftly so ship the though but. Walked man old this death and life on. Coffin tapper like sounded limb dead his of stroke every. Deck the along echoes lively made leg live one his while. Terrible. See, totally screwed that up, didn't I? Awful. Warring were things different to also him in that thought have would you. Night that face Ahab's watched you had and. Goal horizontal some to yoringly drive to other the. Heaven to direct mount to one. Her in struggling were influences antagonistic to if as. Along rushed she still while. Feet the beneath air like feel to deck hovering. Buoyant the maid, oh dear, terrible. Buoyant the maid, sails many. So I've gone self-conscious now. Now I've mentioned that I think about this in a sort of self-evaluating way. Now I can't concentrate. Every word I say, I'm going hovering. Should I have said hoovering? Buoyant the maid, sails. Yeah, total. Yeah, 6 out of 10. Al's giving me 6 out of 10 for hoovering. Buoyant the maid, sails many, so of hollows the filling breeze taffrail, the of tendency lifting, upheaving strange there. Wind the before down. Sorry, it's when there's two meanings of a word. Like I see wind, and by the time I've got to before, I'm worried that I should have said wind, and then that distracts me. I have to go back and go, did I mean wind? Wind the before down, especially because you would wind down. You see how language plays tricks. Wind down, right? You wouldn't say wind down. If you said I'm going to wind down the window, you would have made a mistake, right? But I see wind the before down, and then I see down and think it should have been wind. Roll down. You roll down something, you wind it down. It's just trickery. It's just linguistic trickery of Herman Melville. It's very clever. I'm starting to appreciate why this is the great American novel of 1851. Herman Melville's Moby Dick. Wind the before down rolled, craft piled up the. Manned masthead every with, then. Helm the take must ship the in, man best the. Spread stunsail every and. Set be to royals and sails to gallant. The commanded Ahab. Stride side launching, quick with deck the walking. How'd you like to gallant, eh? 4 out of 10. Lowering a desired, instinctively bored on soul, every almost that, exciting deliriously so, and cry there was impressive so yet, our unwanted most, how was it though for? Pleasure rather, terror no felt they still yet, more quivered have not could they, blown judgment of Trump that. Let's not get into politics. Blows she there, crew mortal the hailed and, rigging that in lighted had spirit winged, some if as feet his to started mariner reclining every, jet moonlit, silvery that announcing heard was voice unearthly his, silence this all after when, sounds single at uttering without nights successive several for their interval uniform his spending after, when but, sky one, in companions, moon the and turban his, hours unusual such at aloft perched oriental old this beheld seaman, doesn't count, the then, emotions what with think may you, them for lowering a venture would 100 at in whaleman one not, Night by scene were wails of herds, though, yet and day been had it if as precision same the with. There lookout a stand and head mainmast the to mount to want his was it. Night's moonlight these are four. Jet this descried first Fidella. See the from uprising god glittering and plumed, some seemed, celestial looked it, moon the by uplit. Bow the at bubbles white, the of advance in far seam was jet silvery, a night silent as such on. Solitude a not silence silvery as seemed what made, seething suffusing, soft thereby and silver of scrolls like by rolled waves the all when, night moonlight and serene one that waters latter these through gliding while was it. Now then, well, there's a mention down here. I was just about to say something about the noises made at night. It said something down here. We've had gardeners in, right? We've had gardeners. They're still going in our back garden. It's all going very well, apart from the gravel. There was a bit of a debacle with the gravel today. But they're doing pretty well. They're making good progress, on pretty close to being on budget. Certainly pretty close to being on time to get it all done. It's quite a big job in our back garden, you see. But one of the guys working on it is from the West Country and has a great West Country accent. I'm not gonna try to do his accent at all. It would be embarrassing for me, and borderline racist. So I'm not going to do his accent. But anyway, he asked the other morning when he first turned up. He asked, "Have you seen a mink around here?" Like that, right? Like a farmer. And I said, I'm still not going to do it. That was just an example of why I'm not going to do it. "Have you seen a mink round here?" And we all said, "A what?" And he said, "A mink. Is there a mink farm round here?" Don't know, mate. Don't know. Never. I wouldn't even know what one is. I thought they were from Patagonia or something. I have no idea what a mink even looks like. Yeah, a mink. I'm sure I saw a mink going up the stream here down the back. It was this long, and it had. I'm sure I've seen one before. It's a mink. So we've got minks apparently out of nowhere, having not seen any. I think the wildest wildlife I've seen over the past year was a pigeon. Suddenly we've got minks running about in the back garden. I think he's brought them with him. I think he's brought his own mink. So that was exciting. But then this morning, I think he started seeing things. This morning he was convinced he'd seen a deer. They were all convinced they'd seen a deer. It ran across, gambling past, and then when they turned around to look, what the hell was that? It had a big white bottom. And it wasn't, definitely not Charlotte Church. It was a deer. So we've had minks, we've had deers. I don't know what's going to come up next. There is a stream down the back of the garden, so maybe it'll be a whale. Maybe it'll be Dick Moby himself. Oh, look at that! It's the end of the chapter. Helena Street. I know. Helena Saint from Southerly locality watery, unstaketan, ground Carol the and. Plata, oh good grief, it's in foreign. Plata Ladario, the of, mouth the off being, called so, plate the on, Verdes the cape the off, Azores the off that, cruising grounds several four across swept, slowly had Pequod ivory the, sail easy under and, past weeks, days. Spirit spout the, 51 chapter. Awesome, that's one done. Still no sperms, but a chapter done. Pretty good. That's only taken 20 minutes. Awesome. I'm happy with that. Nailed one pretty quick. I think we're coming up on some short chapters here, you see. We'll easily get this one done by the end of today. And then next week we'll finish off the whole book. Pretty good. Amours mundane in indulge. Rabbins uncanonical the ad. Also devils the. Men of daughters, the with consorted indeed angels there, Genesis 2 according, though when. End what to and created were they, why moon the and sun, the of ast and. Phantoms real as other each-eyed, came he whence unknowing. Descendants his men all and, recollection distinct, was man first the of memory the when, generations primal earths of aboriginalness, ghostly the of much preserve, still days modern these in even which countries unalterable, immemorial, insulated those. Where's your full stops, Herman? Continent the of east, the to isles oriental, the especially, communities Asiatic, unchanging the among glide then and now, whom of like the but. Dimly but that and, dreams there in sea only zone temperate, the in people domestic, civilized as creature as such was he. Fidala concerning air indifferent and sustain cannot one but, knew none this all. Him over authority even been have might it but, knows heaven. Influence half hinted at of sort some have to as far so, nay. Fortunes peculiar Ahab's with linked be to himself evince soon he tie unaccountable of sort what by this like world mannerly in came he whence. Last thereto mystery muffled are remained Fidela, hair turbaned, that yet them from distinct somehow were it as still though crew the among place there found soon phantom subordinate the wild that is it certain may it as this all be but. Oof. I knew it was a short chapter. I wasn't expecting such a long sentence. It made me feel a bit dizzy, that, trying to read all that in one breath. Forecastle, the in excitement unsubduable, any create not would it and. Captain the with chat to cabin the into down step and side the up climb might himself Beelzebub that. Not what and, junks Japanese blown off. I was just watching that on the internet just the other day. Junks Japanese blown off. Canoes, whaleboats, oars, wreck of bits. Planks on, sea open, the about tossing, found creatures cast away queer, such up big often themselves ships the and. Whalers of outlaws floating these man to earth, the of careful ash. You know, I'm sure Herman does it on purpose, right? There are certain paragraphs in this book. That are just. I'm sure there are no actual double entendres in the original text, but the words in isolation, there's a sudden increase in the density of smut in some of these paragraphs. I'm sure. Junks Japanese blown off. Ash holes is an obvious pun. Tossing planks. I don't know. I find sexy planks. It's tricky. It's hard to read when he throws you for a loop. Ash holes and nooks unknown, the from up come, nations strange of ends and odds unaccountable, such then and now. Besides, Wayne soon wonders, whaler in for. That's a tongue twister. Away Wayne soon remained wonder what? Phantom subordinate the with now. That's the kind of paragraph that if you're reading this on the Kindle, that would be underlined, that paragraph. Someone would have found that paragraph and decided that was such beautiful language that they would underline it for the edification of travellers yet to come through the book. Boat that to assigned being crew, boats any to as suspicion remotest, the involved means no bided supposition as such but. Person in monster mortal that hunt to intention his revealed already had he for. Dick Moby of chase ultimate that to view with be only must Ahab in heedfulness preparative particular, this that supposed everybody almost but. Time the at curiosity and interest much awakened had, say I, things these all. There little at it straightened, and here little at outgouged chisel carpenters the withhand, cleat the in depression semicircular even, overstating the angle there, semicircular the in fixed knees solitary his with boat that in up stood he often how observed was it when. Whale the at stabbing or darting in against neither bracing for bow boats, the in piece horizontal the, called sometimes is it as cleat clumsy, or board thigh the shaping, exactly and evinced he anxiety the also and. Limb ivory, his of pressure pointed the withstand better it make to if as boat the of bottom, the in sheathing of coat extra and having in solicitude his particularly and. Him in observed was this all when bow the in groove the overpinned are outrunning is lined the when which skewers wooden small the cutting solicitously even and boats spare the I'm gonna have to scroll up a bit boats spare the of one be to thought was what for hands own his with thole pins making of matter the in himself bestirring found then and now was Ahab this after time some when service for whaleboats the fitting of business customary the concluded had hands all port of out while little a being after when sure be to though it foreseen little had sailors there discovery published cabaccos until matter that all touching own is of measures private taken. See what I mean? This whole chapter is pure smut. Touching own his of measures private taken had he nevertheless. Head that on desires his hinted way any in he had nor them from crew boats as solicited not had he therefore. Pequod the of owners the of heads the entered never conceits generous such that knew well he crew boats same that as men extra 5 with supplied be to Ahab captain for all above hunt the in headsman regular as him to apportioned actually boat a have to Ahab captain for yet person in orders his giving an action of seen the near being of sake the for chase the of vicissitudes harmless comparatively certain in boat at entering his of little think would home at friends his although that no well Ahab. Oh. Honestly, some editor should have they could have pinned the manuscript on a wall and thrown darts at this and just put full stops in wherever they hit. It would have improved this no end. Not thought plainly have must Pequod the of joint owners the thing general as hunt thee in whaleboat enter to man maimed any for wise it is circumstances these under peril comprises then indeed moment individual every that difficulties extraordinary and great under always is whales of pursuit that considering danger of times all in white hobbling but is man legs too with that considering aspect modified assumed question the Ahab with but fight the of thickest the intercarried be to aught his of life invaluable that whether even excuse me eyes there in tears with argued often soldiers Tamerlanes so chase the of perils active the in life that jeopardized to captain whaling for right is it voyage the of success the to life his of importance paramount the considering whether argued been often has it people whalewise among kneel him saw yet never I man little my that no don't I know you left other the of part good and knee one has he but him disable would that thing different be would it now hip the at off were leg his if Flask said account that on all after strange so it think don't I man old wonderful he's oh tow timber my with plug hole the stop to maybe unless boat in me catch not would you leg one but had I if Stubb cried Flask it thought have would who Fadala crew and boat Ahabs 50 chapter. Good grief. So the next 49 chapters in reverse are prior to meeting the boat and crew. in the forward timeline, in the true timeline of this, there were 49 chapters before they set out to sea to actually go and do the thing. I don't remember this at all. I just remember the entire thing being set at sea, apart from that scene at the start where Queequeg and Ishmael, is it Ishmael? I guess it is at that point, are in bed together. Or maybe it's Ahab and Ishmael's just watching. I don't know. Yeah. 49 more chapters that do not even concern going looking for a whale. Make of that what you will. I've started, so I'll finish. Speaking of which, I'm making great progress now through the other great work of American exploratory fiction, Star Trek: The Next Generation. I've got to the point now where I'm concurrently watching Star Trek: The Next Generation and Star Trek: Deep Space Nine, the other, the Babylon 5 rip-off series that was made around the same time, came out a year after Babylon 5, set on a space station just like Babylon 5, slightly gritty, more political outlook than the usual fare that we'd become accustomed to through the Next Generation years, again like Babylon 5, but with none of the story arcs or characters that was so great about Babylon 5. Still, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to watch it. It's halfway through series 6 of The Next Generation. You're expected to then begin, after a particularly tedious double episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, you then it breaks off and you watch them both. I think the only reason why you can't just watch them in any old order is that you find yourself in an unusual situation where Chief Miles O'Brien and his wife and child would be living simultaneously on the Starship Enterprise and the Deep Space Nine space station. So you have to be careful so as not to diverge, to split the timeline for Chief O'Brien and end up in a kind of Schrodinger's. Maybe he transported himself, but he left himself in the pattern buffer and was somehow duplicated as part of that. You could find a way of writing it into the storyline of Star Trek. God knows they write any old shit into the storyline of Star Trek. So, I'm sure you could justify having two Miles O'Briens unaware of each other, both serving Starfleet in different locations. But as it stands, I've been quite careful, and I've not duplicated Miles O'Brien. Al there in the chat is saying Riker did exactly that. Did he? Maybe, spoiler alert, that's not, I don't remember that. I don't think I've watched that episode yet. If Riker duplicates himself, that's going to be a joy, isn't it? Especially for all the ladies on board. Hey? The double threat, Riker and Riker. Shit, I'd hate to see them in 10 forward, leching after everybody, getting a bit rapey, wandering around the place at closing time. Ugh. Gives me the willies as soon as the lady's in the room with Riker, it gives me the creeps. I quite like him. I like him as an officer, but not as a gentleman. But Miles O'Brien, I quite like the way he immediately has been written as a far more cantankerous character. As soon as he turns up on Deep Space Nine, he suddenly gets an attitude on him. He suddenly writes stroppy on Deep Space Nine, which is much better writing. I'm quite enjoying him as a character now. As opposed to some of the other characters who I find a little bit I'm not into quite as much on Deep Space Nine. I've come to quite like most of the crew of the Enterprise. They all have their weak points, but they're generally quite likable and funny at times. Deep Space Nine, there's a few characters in there that are just a bit joyless, aren't there? Let's face it. I mean, what's her name? Nana Mishgori. What's her name? Nana Visitor plays her, doesn't she? Major. I've forgotten her name. I've only watched 2 episodes of it. Major Kira, is it? Yeah, she's right miserable. Not much for her. I don't like the Doctor. The Doctor's far too cheesy. I like some of the more. I like Odo. I find Odo quite funny. Odo, if you've not watched it, Odo is a shape-shifting security guard. There's only one of him, at least at this point in the timeline, that he's not aware of any other shapeshifters of the same species as him. He believes that he's an abandoned member of some shape-shifting species from the opposite side of the wormhole, from the Gamma Quadrant, and he's become somehow become the head of security on the space station on Deep Space Nine. And his main thing is that he can shapeshift, right? He can change shape at will, but in a way that I don't know if they tighten this up in later episodes, but he does something in the first episode, or maybe it's a second episode or something, I don't know, early on, which made me question the true nature of his like, what is he? What is biologically? What is he? He was. So they play a trick on some guy. There's some guy, some criminal. And in order to... Oh, no, that's right. It's Cardassians, isn't it? It's always Cardassians. In order to infiltrate a Cardassian spaceship, they have the Cardassians on the space station, where the small man with the big ears, Quark, who's a Ferengi, and probably the first Ferengi character. He's distinct from all the other Ferengis that you've met, in that he seems to actually have a personality and isn't just a pantomime villain. So Quark, the Ferengis, runs a casino of sorts, and the Cardassians are gambling there. And the Cardassians win a significant amount of gold chips. Pressed gold latinum, I think, is the currency. They had to come up with a currency because Starfleet doesn't have a currency. They've eliminated money. But what they haven't done is forced everyone else in the entire galaxy to give up capitalism. So some of the species there, some of the races, they do still trade with a currency of this gold chips. The Cardassians win big, but then they have to leave and go back onto their spaceship. So Quark says, "I'll give you a bag. Let me put that in a bag for you, right?" So he gets this like a hold-all, fills it full of the gold, and off they go with their gold chips in the handbag back to their spaceship, where they, rather than decontaminate it or in any way do anything at all with the gold they've won, they just put it in a cupboard, right? Whereupon the bag turns into Odo, right? Now you see the problem here, don't you, right? The bag, I mean, forget the change in mass. The bag has nothing like the mass of a humanoid, of a 6-foot human-looking creature, right? Forget that. It's not T2. It's not Terminator 2. It doesn't have to be an object of the same mass. But it does turn into Odo, and as if by magic, the gold has gone. There is no sign of the gold, the pressed gold latinum in the bag, which, given the density of gold compared to the density of cloth, made up by far and away the bulk of the mass of the entire object. So where does it go? Is it still inside him? Is it still inside Odo? Does he live on gold? Does he somehow sustain himself with gold? And I can imagine, like, the bag itself being... You can imagine opening a bag and there's a zip. The most natural thing for him to have shapeshifted to become the bag, that would be his mouth and teeth, wouldn't it? The zip has teeth. You can imagine the opening it, like flip-top head, opens out, and the rest of his body becomes a hollow shell, and it sort of morphs a bit to look a bit Louis Vuitton, a bit like a bag, a bit like a handbag. But then, it's functionally identical. It's topologically very similar. You just have to seal his anus, and I'm sure he could do that to topologically turn himself into a bag, and he could even reuse his teeth as the zip. So imagine they opened him head first, and they placed, I don't know, probably it appeared to be, I mean, if it's made of gold, that stuff, it probably weighed about 10 kilos of gold into Odo's mouth, and it went down into his whatever duodenum, whatever he has inside, whatever mechanism he has inside, I don't know. And then he reverts to his original form, but the gold's still in there. Does it become part of his chemical makeup? Is he slightly heavier? Is he 10 kilos heavier? Are they going to weigh him and say, well, we need all that gold back now? Where's all the gold gone, Odo? You're creaming it off the top line. He's got big stacks of gold pressed latinum in his quarters, where what he does is he ingests it into his chemical makeup, claims that it has been lost as part of, and then he just kind of, I don't know, cuts his hand off and it morphs into a pile of gold. But then if that's the case, he could do it anyway. He can shapeshift. Why can't he? If he can turn into a bag, he can turn into a pile of gold. And if he can ingest gold and it become part of himself, additional mass, grist to the mill, I just don't understand it. I don't understand what is Odo. It's the most exciting thing I've seen on Star Trek yet, is the true biological mechanisms going on inside this guy. Does it make him feel sick? I mean, surely, like, if I ingested 10 kilos of gold, surely that wouldn't I get like some kind of chemical poisoning from that? Some kind of, heavy metal, like lead poisoning, but cost a bit more, but basically the same thing. I don't know. I don't get him. I don't get him. He's a good character and all. I like him as a character. But his mechanisms worry me. I think we're probably better carry on. We've got 20 minutes left. In a row. So let's continue. Hindmost the fetch devil that and. Destruction and death at dive collected. Cool afore goes here. I mean, who owned the gold? It was Quark's gold. If I was Quark, I'd be like, all right, later on after the whatever it was, stop the Cardassians blowing shit up. I'd be like, hang on a minute, I'm like $8,000 down on this deal. Where's my gold? Odo. And Odo would do his gruff voice and go, oh, it's just part of the investigation. You've lost the gold now. Whatever. Get back to your casino. You're an upstanding member of this society because I manipulated you into... He worries me. I mean, anything could happen, let's face it. Could he ingest the entire space station? Could he start gradually eating bits of space station and making it part of himself until he was this Akira-like hulking biomechanical form, the entire space station having been subsumed into the thing that is Odo? And if he can do that, and he is only one of a species, what's going on in the Gamma Quadrant? They could have overrun the entire Gamma Quadrant by now just by simply ingesting everything. Simply this hegemonizing swarm that just... It'd be worse than the Borg, wouldn't it? Let's face it. The Borg want to make you into them. But these guys can literally make you into them. They can take you inside themselves and you chemically bond. You become part of their biomechanical system. Can they even eat each other? Can they blend together into this mass of... Is Odo a one droplet of a vast sea of shape-shifting flesh and metal sort of synthesis? I'm actually quite excited. It's better than Babylon 5, isn't it, now I think about it? Cool after goes here. Frock my of sleeves the uprolling unconsciously, I thought. Then now. Do you want the answer to that? No, I don't want the answer to that. If I've accidentally stumbled across the entire arc of Odo's character, then no, don't tell me. Does he really ingest the whole of Deep Space Nine? Vault family snug out of bars, the inside sitting conscience clean, with ghost quiet alike. Contentedly and tranquilly me round looked I. Chest my in uplocked were burial and death myself survived I. Be might case the as weeks or months, many so of gain clean supplementary resurrection his after lived Lazarus, that days the as good as be would live now should I days the all besides. Heart my from away rolled was stone easier the all felt I. Occasion present the upon concluded was ceremony the after. Things same the done had I that life nautical my in time forth there was this. Diversion that of fond more world the in people know are there but. Testaments and wills last there at tinkering be should sailors men all of that strange seem may it. Legatee and executor, is it? It's a legal thing, isn't it? I think they call it an executor, do they? Lawyer my be shall you along come, I said. Queequeg. Will my of draft rough, make and below go well as might I thought I say I together things all taking. Whale white the touching, implicated was I chased devils, what in considering finally and boat Starbucks prudent uncommonly this to belong thy that considering. Fishery that in heedfulness great his for famous was, notwithstanding, Starbuck that considering and squall out of teeth the in almost whale his to on driving Starbucks to imputed be to chiefly was boat particular own hour to disaster particular that considering. Stampings frantic own his with craft the scuttling of point the upon impetuousness in his in is moment very that at who fellow at oftentimes. Boat the steered who him of hands the into life my resign must I wail the to ongoing of instant critical superlatively superlatively the at that considering. Life of kind this in occurrence common of matters were, deep the on bivouacs consequent, and water the in capsizings and squalls that, therefore considering. Case entire the of statement deliberate had I, witnesses impartial 3 from, then here. That mind, squint for squint, them give would wail the ha-ha, foremost face whale to up water backing crew, boats seat alike should I, law the that's yes, Flask said, smaller that twist you can't, jaws deaths into back foremost himself pulling back, own his break to oarsman and fore, Flask mister, fishery this in law unalterable is it whether me tell you will. I'm really struggling with these short words. Not am I and things these inexperienced are you. By close standing was who king post little to turning I said Flask mister. Horn cape off gale in ship leaking from Wales for lower dive captain. Discretion whaleman's of height the is squall foggy in set sail you're with whale flying on plump going that then suppose I. Prudent and careful most the far by is Starbuck mister. Mate chief hour met ever you whaleman all of that say you heard have I think I stub mister. Rain the in pipe his smoking calmly now was. Oil jacket his in up buttoned who worthy that to turning I said stub mister. This whole sequence read backwards kind of reads like one of those the end of a film where it shows pictures of them all and their names over the credits. Sort of introducing the band but unintroducing them, whatever the equivalent is, seeing the band off. Happen often did things such that understand to me gave he, me like just through soaked through, through soaked though, that's confusing isn't it, emotion much without. Happen often think of sort this does, friend find my queequeg, water the off fling to jacket my in myself, shaking still was I and deck the two man last the me dragged had they when I said queequeg. Object its whale white great the and Pequod the of voyage whole disregarded now I it with and philosophy desperado genial of sort easy and free this breed to whaling of perils the like nothing is there. Joke general the of part but seems now momentous most thing a him to seemed have might before just what that so. Earnestness his of midst very the incomes it. Tribulation extreme of time some in only man overcomes of speaking am I mood wayward of sort odd that. Joker old unaccountable and unseen the by bestowed side the in punches jolly and hits good natured sly only him to seem itself death and these all. Limb and life of peril, disaster sudden of prospects, worryings and difficulties small for as and flints gun and bullets down gobbles digestion potent of ostrich and ass. Didn't expect to see ostriches there. Is it an ostrich in your garden? Did we see an ostrich with the mink? A mink chasing an ostrich this morning? Is there an ostrich farm around here? Sorry if you just joined me. That was a callback. Not be how mine never. Not be how mine never. Invisible things hard all. Persuasions and beliefs and creeds all. Events all down bolts he. Disputing while worth seems nothing and dispirits nothing however. Own his but expense nobody's at his joke that suspects than more and discerns dimly but he thereof wit the though. Joke practical vast, for universe whole this takes man when life call we affair mixed strange, this in occasions and times queer certain are there. Hyena the 49 chapter. Where was the hyena in all of that? The word hyena doesn't appear in the rest of that chapter. That's a chapter called The Hyena, which is about ostriches, wherever that is. I'm just clicking things now. Gobbling down bullets, gobbling down ostriches. There. And that was a chapter about hyenas. We certainly haven't seen them in the garden. I've seen a hyena! Paul, shall I just carry on? Well, we've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Is this a long chapter? I mean, we can't just stop 10 minutes there. They've got to carry on, really. That's quite a hefty chapter. There's no way I'm going to finish that this time. But we can break the back of it. We can crack on. No sperms yet, though, eh? No sperms again. Disappointing. I'm a bit concerned now because they're not even on the boat now, right? The boat is they're just arranging to go on the boat. So, at a rough estimate, I mean, I'm thinking we're about 2/3 of the way through the sperms, but that still leaves a considerable number of sperms left. Probably, I'd say at least 70 sperms left yet to find. And those sperms occur before they even go to sea. What is this crew up to? How is Ahab paying for this voyage? Let's find out, shall we? Pole, lance, or an. Perishing hour of token, some upon light might it haply if cruising still was but up us given had ship the time good in ship the two returned and fish there from loose cut had boats other the to close came squall the air. Board on landed safely and uptaken last at were and seized the by it against dashed were it for swam we again. Astern it's confusing, we seem to be back at sea again. Astern weltering up came it till more no seen was it and it overrolled hull vast the then maybe the next chapter was a flashback. He was explaining how the crew came together, filling in details, you know, after they've already set off, perhaps. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's a clever bit of pacing and, you know, he wanted to jump straight into the action. So they get off to sea. And then he spends almost 100 chapters explaining the shit you don't need to know about. And then, the climax occurs. But you wouldn't want those 100 chapters of bullshit to, you know, start straight from the word go and, you know, you front load all of it. No one would get invested in the story, would they? But if you have, you know, 49 absolute cast iron banging chapters and then talk shit for page after page after page, chapter after chapter, forever and ever, that's the way to hook them in, isn't it? That's the way to hook them in. Where was I? It was the watering up came to... I've forgotten now. No scene was it and... We'll go from here. No scene was it and... It overrolled hull vast the then and... Cataract out of base the at chip alike bows ships the beneath gaped and tossed. It instant one for as boat abandoned the saw we waves the on floating. I can't believe he gaped and tossed and we still didn't find any sperms. Length it's than more much not of distance are within us upon downright bearing. View interlumed last at ship the as see the intersprang all we affrighted. Form vague. Huge by parted dimly were mists thick the nearer and nearer came sound the stormed the by muffled hitherto yards and ropes of as creaking faint are heard all we ear his to hand his hollowing feet. Oh, hollowing, not yes, that is a word, isn't it? Hollowing. Totally. Yeah, I thought he made one up there, but I've started to forget what words are. Feet his to started Queequeg suddenly. Boat the of bottom, the in crushed lay lantern empty the sea the overspread still missed the. On came dawn the as eyes our uplifted we, boat or ship of despairing, cold shivering and through drenched wet. Oh, can I stop now? No, I'll do one more. Do this paragraph. There's 5 minutes of material in this one paragraph, isn't there? Then I can stop. Despair of midst the in hope upholding hopelessly. Faith without man of symbol and sign there sat he then there. Forlornness almighty that of heart the incandle imbecile that upholding sat he then there. Hope forlorn this of standard bearer the as Queequeg to it handed. Pole waif on it stretching then. Lantern the in lamp the ignite to contrived Starbuck failures many after. Keg match waterproof the of lashing the cutting so. Life preservers of office the now performing. Propellers as useless were oars the. Boat the out bail to attempts all forbade sea rising the. Scene B could ship the of sign no. Night of shadows the with darker grew. Mist and brack scud driving the meanwhile. Storm that in boats those hail as furnace flaming out of chimney the down coals live the to raw well as. Boats other the hailed we vain in. Death of jaws these in immortal, burning were we, unconsumed, which in prairie the upon fire white, alike us around crackled and forked, roared, squall hold the. Together bucklers their dashed waves the, howl at to increased wind the. Well, that's only taken 1 minute. Let's continue. I can do it fast when I want to, when the pressure's on. Ocean the of bottom, the from just ask my wife. Us to upgrown boat coral a seamed craft suspended the eyes gazing downward, our to that so. Plank and rib every covering water there. See that in knees our to up sat we there. Places our to back tumbled. Gunnel the across them lashing and. Oars floating the up picked we it round swimming. Unharmed nearly was boat there. Swamped completely though. That's enough. That's enough. That extra minute, that's too much. I'm done. Right. Yes. Admin. Click things. Click like, subscribe, follow, friend, block. No, not block. Don't block. The other ones though. Give money to the National Video Game Museum. It's down there. Type it in. It's not a link. You have to type it in. Use the keyboard. Type it in with the keyboard. Like that. That's. You can tell I actually typed it in there. That was good typing. Next week, it's questionable whether I'm going to do this. I know. I might not actually do this next Friday. With good reason. I'm taking part in a game jam at the moment called the Low Res Jam, in which you have to make a video game that is less than 64 pixels by 64 pixels resolution. Hence low res. And jam because it has to be based around sugary fruit-based comestibles. That's not true. It's a game jam in that it's a kind of make a game quickly and don't really care too much about it. And I'm enjoying doing it, but the submission date is next Saturday, I believe. So if my game all falls to pieces at 9:30 p.m. next Friday evening, I may decide not to do this. Take a week off and get the game finished. But don't worry, because if I do, even whether I do or not, I'll submit something, and it will be free on the internet, and I will tell you where to get it if you would like to play it. It features a ball bouncing up and down. So far, it may need some additional features in the second week. I've already been working on it for a week. I've made a ball bounce up and down. It does more than that. Don't worry. There's almost a game there. A couple of days it'll turn into a game, and then a few days polishing it up, and then hopefully I can do this. But if I don't do this, that'll be why. I didn't do a trump then, by the way. That was me wafting a trump away, and it was a fly or something, a little midge. in the garden. Oh, it's a midge in the garden. It's coming from the garden. You see a midge, a mink with a midge, and a deer, and a grizzly bear. I should say I do like the guy. The West Country accent guy is great. He's a really nice guy. I'm not mocking him. I'm just I don't know. I don't know where he's seen all this wildlife from, but he's a lovely chap and he's doing a great job in my garden. So, thumbs up to West Country chap, whatever his name is, one of the gardening crew. Cool. Is that it? Am I done? Can I go now? I think that's it, isn't it? I think the end is nigh. We didn't quite finish the book today. Disappointingly so. Maybe next time. Maybe the next episode of this will be the last. 36 episodes would be a nice, sort of day and a half. I can't really justify doing this for any longer than a day and a half. 36 hours is perfectly justifiable, but any longer than that, it's starting to drag, isn't it? So, at the risk of dragging any more, that's it. Go away.